What up, what up, what up? Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Wow, episode 7? Is that what we're on? Holy moly. And Mariani even brought new headphones to the mix here today. What do you got? Did you just get those Apple AirPod Max or whatever those are called?
Yes,
Is that what those
are? They are insane. Like, it's quite risky to wear them on the street with the noise canceling on because you can't hear the cars. So it's like, one day, guys, if you don't see me anymore, I was enjoying Pink Floyd while walking down an avenue.
Hey, we have something else in common. Classic rock fan, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Roger Waters was here. I've seen like 3 shows.
Roger Waters is coming to Argentina in November. And there's already like a huge controversy because in Buenos Aires, there's a lot of like Jew people, right? And, he symbolizes like Nazi fascism, which he does it on purpose, right? It's actually against fascism, but there are already people like being angry.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys where I don't really care what the political beliefs are of my artists. I like them for their music or whatever and his music's awesome. So, I've seen him 3 times. Amazing.
Have you seen The Wall then?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's the best rock and roll show I've ever seen in my life. I've seen it.
I wish I saw it. Yeah. I heard it's insane.
The production is like $1 million a show.
Wow.
That's how much it costs them to put on the production. $1 million per show. Yeah.
Wow. How about you, BJ? Do you like rock?
Yes, I do like rock. Although recently I've been more into Spanish music and Spanish tribal music. So yeah, that's what I've been into these days. And more of sets. There are these some incredible artists who go to some beautiful locations and they do music mixing there. So they take existing songs and mix it along with it. And I've also been going to some dance places here in Puerto Rico where they have some really great music. Yeah.
Gonna have to get down to Buenos Aires and do some tango down there, BJ.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think I know someone down there that could host you. Yeah.
Who's that?
Well, it's fun. It's funny because I asked about the headphones because I was actually in the market for some headphones recently. And so the fact that they are as good as you say they are, I might actually have to send mine back and grab some of those. So,
yeah.
They're really good.
I highly, the Sony XM5s are pretty incredible.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. It's for $200 less than Apple. I mean, Apple ecosystem, right? Yeah. I mean, it has its own thing. But it's comparable in terms of noise canceling to Apple.
Right on.
And it's a great product to gift someone. Wink, wink.
There we go. I like that. It's coming up. Oh my God. Well, you guys, I tell you what, that's awesome. I might have to send those back. I will take your recommendation as well, VJ. And maybe
what's really cool about these headphones, sorry, we're not going to talk the whole podcast about headphones, but what's really cool is that when you put them on, like your iPhone detects that it connects automatically, right? And when you take them off, it continues to now have the speaker from your iPhone. And that's very smart because you don't lose time like connecting it. And it's also aluminum and they look very cool. But
I decided I'm an over-the-ear kind of guy now because when I work out at the gym, my AirPods constantly fall out. Every set. So like
you have a lot of pressure.
I really couldn't get to like 10 reps before my AirPods fall out of my ear. So I'm like, all right, I have to send these back. And so I'm getting the over-the-ear stuff. Anyways, for everybody who is so excited to hear about the Bitbrain podcast today and what we have to talk about today, a lot of stuff going on. In fact, there's some, there was an actual article that came out regarding AI and all the businesses that are using it and the improvement in earnings and all that good stuff. And I know VJ, our resident AI expert, loves to talk about all things AI. So I'm sure you have some unpacking of that particular story.
Dominic, I think you're talking about the Morgan Stanley report that came out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's specifically for businesses that are doing over $10 billion in revenue. And they asked them whether they have quantified in terms of revenue opportunities. And you'll have to take it with a grain of salt because the big innovation that happened in the last year, it's generative AI, specifically around large language models. And it's going to take businesses some time to implement that breakthrough. Of course, business have been implementing other things in their businesses. AI is an umbrella term that includes many such technologies. But specifically, if you're talking about the biggest breakthrough, which is around the large language model, you'll have to take it with a grain of salt, because now every company is an AI company, right? Similar to what happened during the previous bull run. Every company was a blockchain company. Wasn't there a drink like
Long Island iced tea?
Long Island iced tea, right? It became like Long Island iced tea blockchain. Now I think they're going to change it to Long Island AI iced tea. Long Island AI iced tea. So I'm still a little bit skeptical around the actual impact, specifically from large language models. And now, there are other companies, right? If you have a car rental company that is claiming that, oh, we used AI and we have improved our productivity. So all that have to be taken with a grain of salt, because there has been, if you look at the overall industry, specifically the early stage, the venture industry, there was a report that came out, and the funding for companies are down probably around 50% compared to the end of 2021. And the average Series A went down from, I think, 15 million or so, down to about 5 to 7 million now, except in the AI category. AI is the area where people are investing a lot of money into. And so there is a distortion around what is the actual business value compared to what is the value that these businesses are claiming from the Morgan Stanley survey.
I find that interesting how there's this downstream effect, effectively, right? With regard to, the AI, as far as the funding, to your point, is that these other companies are now finding it more and more challenging to effectively get funded that are not AI companies, just because of this. So I think that's really, really interesting, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I think in my opinion, it resonates to what we all believe in the Bitbrain podcast, that innovation never stops and it never ends, and there's always going to be like a new category of technology that is going to surpass the previous technology, for good or for worse. Now it's AI, and maybe it's like a little bit inflated, what it can be done, but that's the tune that the market is tuning into, essentially. For example, I mean, we saw it previously with the metaverse. Everyone wanted to be a metaverse company, even though nobody understood what it was really. And before that, it was Web3, and everyone wanted to do something with NFTs. But I think, if anything, it shows you how sentimental the market is with technology in a way. How it's very susceptible to change when all these new things start to appear.
Yeah, I think it's the latest and greatest buzzword, right? I mean, there's huge impact that this technology ultimately will have. But the problem is there's so many grifters that are going to go and try to take advantage of the fact that it's the new buzzword. It's the hot new girl in school, right? Like to DJ, to your point, it was crypto before, Long Island iced tea blockchain, and now Long Island iced tea AI, all that stuff, right? So that it's this cycle's version of that again. And it's important to keep your heads a little bit level. Don't be just throwing money at a bunch of investments just because they got AI in them. And I think that's a critical thing to understand. Which is interesting, is the fact that now even VCs are capable of mispricing, or misappropriating capital into, projects that just have AI in it. And I'm not suggesting that that's exactly what's going on, but as you can tell, that there are other industries that are worthy of investment right now, but they're not getting that investment because the hot new girl in school is AI. So I think that that's just it's an interesting thing that even the smart people on Wall Street, the smart people that have access to that are capital allocators, are still falling prey to, perhaps malinvestment or overinvestment into a class that is, the valuations are obscene. So I think that's the interesting thing from my perspective.
Yeah, this is really groundbreaking technology. Large language models, definitely groundbreaking technology. However, for it to have some impact on the economy, I think it's still going to take some time. Probably next year, or we'll start seeing actual impact in the global GDP, starting maybe sometime next year. And specifically, if you look at the Morgan Stanley report, they talked about bunch of efficiency improvements for tech companies, which are pretty obvious in terms of being able to optimize on customer service, efficiency improvements, etc. Those are obvious. And I felt like they discussed three things which are significant trends for non-technology companies. These are like pharma companies. They are reporting gains from AI, everything from regulatory filing to helping them identify specific medicine or specific protein structure. So that is not because of the breakthrough of LLMs, right? That has been happening for a while. There is also banks who are discussing about onboarding customer service, making customer service more autonomous, efficient. That is a LLM breakthrough. And then plenty of legal use cases, everything from summarizing documents for making the reporting easier. So that is also another breakthrough with LLMs. But now AI is an umbrella term that anything that people are doing, now it's they're calling it AI, even though it's not necessarily because of the latest technology breakthrough.
Vijay, what do you think is the actual impact on AI and blockchain eventually, right?
Yeah.
Or the big integration? Like, do you have any thoughts on specific how that kind of integrates, how those two technologies really integrate?
Yeah, so do believe that AI and blockchain, right? Fundamental technologies, foundational technologies, similar to internet. Like, internet is a foundational technology, and similarly, blockchain is a foundational technology, and artificial intelligence, specifically around these large language models, multimodals, which are going to be coming out in the next year or so. Those are foundational technologies, and similar to how internet gave birth to many unicorns, billion-dollar companies. Similarly, we're going to see blockchain give birth to so many unicorns, and AI companies, right? The AI fundamental technology will give birth to multiple unicorns. At the end of 2021, there were 1,000 unicorns, right? Meaning 1,000 companies that were valued at $1 billion or more. And that is phenomenal. Just a few years ago, getting to a unicorn status was so difficult. Now you have 1,000 companies that are being able to do that, and most of them are still using the fundamental building block of internet, right? Maybe there are a few exceptions there. OpenAI, they raised $10 billion from Microsoft at a $50 billion valuation. That is an AI company, and there are a few other companies that have raised money on the AI side of it. But if you take a step back and look at it, majority of it are still internet companies. And we are going to see many more of these AI companies that are going to be worth $1 billion or more, and blockchain companies that are going to be worth $1 billion or more. The really interesting part is the intersection of blockchain and AI. We saw what happened with the internet companies. Pretty much every single internet company, if you take everything from Facebook or Google, they all collect data that others have produced. Like Google, in terms of Google, is other web page people have produced. In terms of Facebook, it's the data that every single person is producing. And they figure out a way to monetize the data. In terms of Google, they make the data easily findable, even though they never created the data. And Facebook also, right? They never created any of the data. They make monetizing of the data and connect them with advertisers. And we don't want the same mistake to happen in AI. AI is a very powerful technology. Whichever company controls the underlying technology of AI is going to be a very powerful company. So blockchain has a fundamental role to play by being able to distribute that power among all the users, to decentralize so that we can own our data, we can monetize it, we can own our large language models and be able to monetize it. That's where I see intersection of AI and blockchain.
Brilliant, because you actually just led a 6-week course on AI, right? On how to take AI and how to leverage it in your business, how to leverage it in your finances, specifically around crypto as well. I know that that was a significant part of the course. But yeah, so you guys just led that entire 6-week course on how businesses are doing it, and really you being on the leading edge of this, because you've been studying exponential technologies for a majority of your entire career. So your understanding of AI is, I put it right up there with anybody else's. And so you leading that 6-week course along with Mariano, actually. Mariano, I know you were a contributor to that course as well for 6 weeks. So we'll actually be dropping that link in for anybody who's interested in taking a look at that. But yeah, I sincerely appreciate your comments on that integration of AI and blockchain, because I think it's here to stay, and it's just a matter of how it integrates, right? How those two technologies integrate.
So yes, the course is free. If you guys are interested, sign up in the link below. And what the course talks about and teaches is a way to communicate with these tools, with these AI tools, similar to how we need to learn to communicate well with others so we can influence them to get the output that we want in a business environment or in a personal environment. The course is essentially to help influence these large language models like ChatGPT and Claude and others to get the outcome that you want. So learning to communicate with AI is going to become as important, or maybe even more important, than learning to communicate with people. And take this course. It's about 6 hours. It's all free content. It's there for you to learn. And we also teach about the fundamental principles. This technology is changing so quickly. What was true last week has already been outdated. But in the course, what we talk about is specifically underlying principles, some foundational mental model for how do you learn about this field, which is changing so quickly. And obviously, none of us, including myself, Mariano, experts in the field, cannot keep up with all the developments, but can give you some mental framework so that no matter what, even a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, what you learn in this will be helpful, because what we are teaching is fundamental principles, not how to use this tool or being able to be effective on what specific prompt to use, right? So that is more of teaching people how to fish. That's what we want to do, rather than giving you the fish, so to speak.
Amazing. Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. So again, for anybody who's interested, there's a link below and shows where you can get access to that. So moving on, there's been a lot of news and a lot of news regarding Argentina, and a primary that was completely of extreme surprise. So we love our resident Argentine to actually unpack that a little bit, and what does that maybe mean for Bitcoin, because that candidate won is actually very pro cryptocurrency, supposedly. So Mariano, yeah, go for it, my friend.
I feel, and this is something that I've been talking with my friends over the past few days, that overall in all Latin America, there's happening a change in the mentality of people. Latin America, throughout its history, for some influence maybe of certain United States president, has always remained a pretty left-wing continent. There were many military dictatorships in the middle, many huge problems, but it's always been towards leading the left, towards leading populism, towards leading commercializing with China primarily, and all those things. However, I would say that around 6 years ago, when, for example, the president of Brazil, Bolsonaro, started into power, there started to be a change in the way that people here view politics and how they view the left wing. And slowly but surely, there have been happening these figures in each country that are leaning on a very right-wing extremist, but not from the political side, but mostly on the economical side, right? So it's persons that they don't really care about, I don't know, like gay marriage and all those things. They are more interested in less state intervention and well, all the things that matter to towards the economy, right? And for example, we can see Bukele in El Salvador, that out of a sudden he had no persons in the Senate or in the government, and they elected him president. It was also a very big surprise. And well, he's leading a revolution, a very right-wing revolution in the country, from the economical side, also from the social side. That's maybe another discussion. What happened in Argentina that was very unexpected is that last Sunday we had our primary elections for presidency, which, I mean, primary elections here, they don't really mean anything. It's more of a free survey that the politicians get because, well, it's mandatory for you to vote here. But this type of candidate, which here is called Javier Milei, which represents the Libertarian Party, was expected to get around 5% of the votes, when in reality he got 32% of the votes. He won the election, right? He was the most voted candidate, and it took the country completely by surprise. What's very interesting is that not only is him being a libertarian, is that according to surveys and according to the results of the election, the most people that voted them were actually lower class citizens than like the few wealthy people that they are still in Argentina, or middle class, right? So like it's interesting how like you could say like, hey, the Libertarian Party wants to cut certain workers' rights and things like that, but yet they still vote them. I voted him. It was a complete surprise that what has been happening, and for the last few days, there is like a sensation in Argentina that something big is about to happen, that it will radically change the last 50 years of history that have been always been left wing. Among other things that the Libertarian Party wants to propose is, well, Bitcoin. He wants to completely like unregulate Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies, that some of them, they are very regulated in Argentina, and that you can freely use Bitcoin, create any type of cryptocurrency you want, do whatever you want with blockchain, do whatever you want with mining. And on that side, it's really, really fantastic.
Wow, that would be a huge boon for the entire country and for the blockchain industry, the crypto industry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine, if you just contrast that stance with what's going on in the United States right now, that we have a lack of guidance, we have a lack of regulatory clarity. And if you in Argentina are sitting there and saying, hey, listen, we're completely deregulating this entire market. We want you to come here and
how good of an
innovation. Yeah. What would that do to the Argentine economy very quickly, potentially? I think that's a very interesting play. And then I also want you to unpack, Mariano, the second thing is, which is the deval, right? That there was a deval in the Argentine peso not long, or maybe it was like a day after the election results. Is that right?
So the election results were the good news, the happy news, but unfortunately something very sad happened, which is that the current government that is ruling Argentina and has been ruling it for the past 50 years has been forced or coerced, or they found an excuse to do it as a revenge, to devalue the official exchange rate of Argentina by around 22% from what it was, instantly, from one day to another. Imagine, like, perhaps the person that is listening to this that lives in a country that is more or less stable, that out of a sudden your country says that your currency in relation to other currencies is worth 22% less. And that has a tremendous effect, not only on world trade, but also in your immediate economies, because when that happens, inflation skyrockets. And Argentina has been already having a pretty big amount of inflation for the last 5 years, I would say. Right now, we're around 155% inflation per year. And we expect to essentially start getting into something called hyperinflation. Hopefully not, right? But that's what the analysts are estimating. And that's really tremendous. And it creates a lot of poverty. But it really paints you a very clear picture that, in a way, money isn't real. I mean, of course it's real, right? But it's, if people don't believe in your currency, nobody uses it, and it loses its value. It's not a means to, it's not a reserve of value. In Argentina, people every single day they want to get rid of the pesos, because every single day they will be worth less, and they will be worth significantly less. They will be worth more than 10% less each month. So what do people do? As soon as they receive their salary, they buy dollars. They buy dollars. Why? Because the dollar, even though it has some inflation, is still 100x more stable and holds 100% more times its value than the Argentine peso. And that has been happening. The past 72 hours have been completely insane. There were rumors that the Minister of Economy in Argentina was gonna quit, which, by the way, would be the second time that happens in the same mandate. But ultimately, I am hopeful for Argentina, especially if this candidate wins the elections. There's gonna be a period of time which is gonna be very violent for Argentina, and it's gonna be like a lot of trouble. But I am sure that we will overcome this.
Wow, I'm blown away, and I commend the Argentine people for stepping up and choosing a different path, because obviously the path that they've chosen, whether they chose it or whether it was chosen for them for the last 50 years, is it needs to be done. Something else, you got to try something new. And it sounds like they just had enough, finally, after multi decades, to try something new. And so hopefully this is a step in the right direction, to give people choice of a cryptocurrency that can actually sustain their buying power, sustain their purchasing power. We'll be watching from afar, from across the pond, but man,
we'll keep you updated.
Seems
any comments you have, BJ, over this?
Yeah, so the I know that Javier,
Milei.
how do you say his last name?
Javier Milei.
Milei, yeah, Javier Milei. He was talking about abolishing the central bank in Argentina.
Yeah,
and
he wants to literally destroy it, like put like a bomb on it.
Okay, so that's not going to happen.
I mean, so he created a plan over the next like 15 years, which part of that plan is to dollarize the economy, right? Yeah. To delete the peso, so no other government can keep printing it, and just use the United States dollars. Which I think it's a little bit like redundant, in my opinion, because it's like you are leaving the control of printing money to somebody else. But that's one of the measures he wants to create, and that's why he's, in a way, so talked about, because he wants to put the figure and on their imagination of people of destroying the central bank.
Okay.
Yeah. He's not the only like criticized or highly acclaimed Argentine figure. You also have Messi, for example, right? That has been destroying everyone in Miami.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been watching it. The MLS, Major League Soccer, it had the highest viewership because of Lionel Messi. And for those of you who don't know, Lionel Messi,
everyone knows him. You don't need to explain him.
In the US, people don't know about soccer, dude. I know everywhere else people watch soccer. But people also may not know that he moved to the Intercity Miami. It's one of the soccer leagues. And what's interesting to me is the deal structure. And I don't know if anyone...
He got stock around it, right? Or something like that. That he got stock ownership of the team in addition to a compensation.
Yeah. So there is I feel like there is an opportunity. This is like, if you have a lot of money to be able to bring all these players into a different league that can compete. Things like this have been happening in India, in the cricket world in India. But specifically, the deal structure for Messi is very interesting. He is expected to make $1.6 billion, right? Probably one of the highest sports deals ever. And the way that they had structured it is, he's going to make some money, maybe I think around $50 to $60 million as his fee for playing. but all the remaining upside is the percentage of the streaming revenue, right? So Apple is streaming MLS. Guess what? Every stream that people are paying for, that Apple is streaming of all these MLS matches, Messi gets a piece of it. And that's how he's going to be making $1.6 billion from this deal.
Wow.
Wow, that probably equates to the Argentine GDP.
Yeah, I think it's already like he's the richest person in Argentina history, something like that.
They could buy the whole country.
But yeah, but it was very cool that the MLS, it was a team that nobody liked. It was like the worst on the last position, and I think now they're on the finals or on the semifinals, all thanks to Messi.
Well, I don't follow soccer much, so I can't say that I have any level of thought or nuance here. But I find that the fact that they struck that kind of deal very, very interesting, because now what's going to happen is it's going to open up the floodgates for United States-based athletes, LeBron, all these guys that are going to be looking.
I feel like the United States is in a way importing a lot of like popular sports now. I mean, this is with soccer, right? But also with Formula One, that is became like tremendously popular, and maybe it wasn't that big of a deal in the United States, and now they will do like Formula One in the United States.
Yeah, there's something going on in Vegas, I think, in a couple months.
Yeah,
they're literally
doing a racetrack that goes through inside Vegas. It's insane.
It is going to be insane. They've already sold enormous amounts of sponsorships to that, and from what I understand is it's almost going to be like one of the largest events in Las Vegas history. So not a small deal at all.
Yeah.
So I find that interesting. I also find that, speaking of, Argentine policy, dollar policy, or what do we call it, fiscal policy, there's also been some, the FOMC in the United States, the FOMC minutes were released this week. And so I know, Vijay, you probably have some thoughts on that, on what that means for maybe short term on the economy.
Yeah, so the FOMC, they had their meeting, I think July 25th or so, and they released their meeting minutes. Obviously, there is a delay from when they have the actual meeting to when they release it. It was released yesterday, and all the things that we watch for, right? They've been talking about inflation. The committee's target is 2%. That's the long-term goal for the inflation. And looks like we are going to be getting there right now. I think it's roughly around 5% or so. And all of the things that have been talking about in terms of inflation, interest rates, all of the things are stuff that has been talked about. But there are key insights, three key insights that was able to observe. One is that the what we talked about around inflation, right? The inflation, it still is higher, but it shows some signs of slowing down. And everyone is watching to see what's happening with those inflation numbers. And that's going to determine our monetary policy and what's going to happen with the monetary policy and the path that we take. So there is anticipation that we might see another rate hike. But beyond that, it's still uncertain, right? We don't know what's going to happen after that. And this monetary policy impact has a huge delay from the time you make a change till the time you actually see a result in the economy. You might see anywhere from maybe 12, 18, 24 months before you can see the impact. So we have to see what the future monetary policy path looks like. And but despite all of the things that are happening, the economy is very resilient. The stock market, it's close to its all-time high. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is about 34K, hit about 36K January of last year. So it's like within 10% of its all-time high. So the economy has incredible resilience with good GDP growth, and the labor market, also the inflation, the unemployment is very low. So those are the three key takeaways that I had from reading the FOMC meetings.
Got it. Yeah. So pretty much right now we're feeling the effects of the first rate hike, or the first couple rate hikes, right? So the rate hikes that have been most recent, we're not likely to feel the effects of those for another year to maybe year and a half. So I think that it's important to consider that. is that, yes, the economy looks good now or is resilient now, but what does it look like a year from now? Having the full effect of the rate hiking cycle in play, right? And so, and by that time, what has happened since then? Have we paused have we reached what, the FOMC or Fed Chairman Powell refers to as the terminal rate? Or have we now dropped from there? So nobody knows. Obviously, we're just speculating. But I find it interesting. I also find interesting that, yes, you have the CPI official numbers that they give you, and then you have what you feel in the real world, right?
Yeah.
Which is, you feel gasoline going up because it is going up. You feel shelter going up because it is going up, but they exclude those because those are volatile, numbers. So the CPI number, as great as it is, it's not indicative of the actual cost of inflation to the average American. So I think that's important to consider. But it's good. It's encouraging that it is where it is, I guess, related to, inflation or disinflation occurring in certain sectors of the market, that monitor certain sectors of the market. Not comprehensive in any viewpoint, but also it's good that unemployment hasn't completely, went to double digits either. So the economy is resilient, and it's also very, very difficult for a lot of Americans right now that are feeling the effects of inflation, because inflation disproportionately, as Mariano knows, inflation disproportionately affects the poor and the middle class.
And what also means, like the more people that are poor, the higher the crime rate, the higher the homicide rate, and all those terrible things that happen in our society.
Indeed. So great. Good to know that those, we'll continue to monitor different macro things, CPI, unemployment, all the things, because they do have an impact, obviously, on crypto, on a risk asset like crypto. Speaking of crypto and what's been going on in the Bitcoin market. So it looks like there was a little bit of a retrace down from 30,000 or 29,000. Now I think we're sitting right around 27,000. So do you guys have any comments on what caused the recent market volatility?
So volatility is still low, because volatility, we take it over a period of 30 days or 60 days. That's what we take into consideration in terms of how do you calculate volatility for Bitcoin. Bitcoin volatility is still at the lowest level it has been in the last 5-6 years. It's roughly, the 30-day volatility is roughly around 0.65, and 60 days around 1.3. So volatility, compared to historically how it has been, is still low despite what happened yesterday. If the movement today and yesterday continues, we might see the 30-day volatility increase. However, the small price movements in Bitcoin, like less than single-digit percentage moves, is expected. And we talked about in the last 2 calls the volatility of Bitcoin being low. And whenever volatility gets compressed, it's one of many reasons, right? One is that the product matures. As a product matures, the volatility decreases, because every information about the particular asset is well known. So everyone has a clear idea of what is the value of Bitcoin, of what is the value of the asset. But in terms of Bitcoin, people are not yet sure what is the value of Bitcoin. If you ask people who are the Bitcoin maxis, they say Bitcoin to 1 million. And if you ask the pessimists, they say Bitcoin is going to go to 0. So we don't have a consensus around the value of an asset, because it's a new asset. Many investors don't understand it. We do believe that there is going to be a lot of demand that is coming on. There are 7 ETFs that are in line for spot ETFs for Bitcoin. And if one of them gets approved, guess what? You're going to have all 7 approved within a short period of time, because they can all follow the same path. And ARK Invest ETF got delayed. The SEC announced last week that they are pushing back the approval of the ARK Bitcoin ETF. But it's just a matter of time. In my mind, it's inevitable. There is going to be a Bitcoin ETF. Don't know the time. Think will happen over the next couple of years. When it happens, it's going to unlock a huge amount of liquidity that is just waiting on the sideline to come into the market, thereby increasing the price of Bitcoin. And this is a very exponential asset. It doesn't take much price to be able to remove a lot of the Bitcoin from circulation. So if we have $1 billion that is going to come into the market, which is a conservative estimate based on the demand that BlackRock and ARK Invest and others have, we'll quickly see the price of Bitcoin double from where it is right now. And then when the price doubles, then it becomes very reflexive, right? Reflexivity is a terminology which means the price difference between the actual price and the speculative value. So something that is highly reflexive, when the price starts moving up, the actual asset value will move up even more. So if the price of Bitcoin doubles, then you're going to see the momentum of it continue to serve as further increasing momentum for Bitcoin. So that's what I am seeing in the market.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Oh, go ahead, Mariana, if you want to.
No, I wasn't gonna comment on anything. I find interesting that measure. In my opinion, I am not sure we have seen the bottom yet. I think something big is still about to happen, and I'm more on the bearish side for crypto at the moment, right? I am mostly liquid. I have some staking going on, but that's it. But one thing that I definitely saw is that the volatility of crypto is is much higher on altcoins than on Bitcoin and Ethereum. It looks like Bitcoin and Ethereum got like a softer movement than the rest of the market. Like I was seeing like the other day, when Bitcoin was moving like 1%, altcoins were negatively impacted, like way higher. And one thing that I started to see is that I haven't saw since the last bull market is that there are certain tokens that its market capitalization is lower than what they have on the treasury. Not by much, but I was like used to seeing, like multiple X of what they have on treasury and things like that. But I have started to see tokens that they are actually, it makes no sense. They're worth less than what the treasury is holding. But well, that's it. That's what it is.
That's what you
Awesome.
That's what you call some asymmetric information right there.
Yes.
And speaking of that, Vijay, I actually wanted you mentioned something about Bitcoin as it relates to the consensus, right? Once consensus is known, there's the cat's already out of the bag. Everybody knows it. Everybody understands it. There's no pocket of information that remains to be discovered, right? So you've actually talked a lot about this to our community. You've talked a lot about, in order to really have an edge, you need to have asymmetric information. You need to understand something about an asset that the broader market does not, right? So maybe kind of explain that phenomena or that principle a little bit, and so that people can really get an understanding of, hey, it's, any real investment devoid of this principle is effectively a form of gambling.
Yeah. So can expand more on that. Asymmetrical knowledge, what does it mean? Asymmetrical knowledge means that there is something that you know or understand about a particular asset, about a particular token, about a particular stock that the broader market doesn't know, right? And just to be clear, this is not insider trading, right? This is not knowing about some information. And the SEC and other regulatory bodies specifically prevent people from trading with insider knowledge, which is with asymmetrical knowledge. However, what I'm talking about is not doing anything illegal. It's being able to do some research to identify some information that is validated information, that is verified, that you know about a particular project or particular token that the rest of the market doesn't know. Today, we'll talk about one such indication that Mariana alluded to earlier, which is what is the market cap relationship to the amount of money it has raised. Okay. Now, why are we doing that? We are doing this because every token, crypto, has two values. One is the utility value, which is what is the actual utility of the token. And the second is the speculative value, which is based on pure speculation. So if you look at many of these meme tokens, like Dogecoin does have a value for being able to tip somebody. It is useful. However, this utility value is very, very small. Speculative value is the majority of the value for many of these meme coins, because the utility value probably would be like, maybe in the order of 10 to 50 million dollars, whereas Dogecoin, it has over I think $4 billion or so in market cap. So the speculative value is really, really high compared to utility value. Now, for projects that have raised money, say you have a project, and we had one such project called Neo. When Neo originally launched, this is back in 2016, I would say, maybe around 2016, 2017. They raised about $12 million. Okay. The project raised $12 million. The market cap of Neo was 7 million. All right. So that is asymmetrical information. So if you had known that Neo had raised $12 million and it's trading at a market cap of 7 million, so all the other IP and other value, it's being counted in terms of negative value, because you know that if you're buying it for 7 million, it's at least worth 12 million, which is the value of the money that they have in bank. So we invested in Neo because it's a great asymmetrical bet. You buy a product that is worth 12 million plus IP for 7 million, which is a great deal, right? You are buying it for less than the value. You are now buying it. In that case, the utility value is much higher and the speculative value is negative. Those are great investments, and ended up doing almost, I think, close to 300x on Neo, because Neo went from being a $7 million market cap, and at one point in time it was close to maybe $3 or $4 billion market cap. Again, check the numbers on this, but so that's roughly more than 1,000x increase. And those are important opportunities where you have asymmetrical knowledge for being able to invest.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you win. That's how you win, right? You are able to identify a mispricing in the market, to VJ's point, and an opportunity where they have $12 million in treasury versus a $7 million market cap. The emotion is essentially bringing down that asset to below its high water, or what it actually has in the bank. So all of its intangible assets you're essentially getting for free. So that's how you win. So it's important, and here's the other thing. A lot of people that I talk to, a lot of novice investors, they're so focused on the token price. Don't be focused on the token price. The token price is meaningless. You got to think about the market cap. What is the market cap of that asset, right? And obviously it's the number of outstanding tokens times the token price. So do not get thinking, oh, this token is cheap because it's 0.00000. Because there's 75 trillion of them in circulation. It doesn't matter. You got to get beyond that thinking. And what you really think about is in terms of market cap, right? What are its competition? What do competing use cases, competing currencies, and crypto assets, and what are their token prices? What are their valuations? Not what are the token price, but what is their valuation? And so start thinking about it from that construct in place. Speaking of, there's been a new, on how to speculate, is Coinbase actually just got approved for Coinbase Futures, right? Mm-hmm. So, futures, which is a way to speculate, and trade with leverage on a crypto asset. Not that you need to trade with leverage on a crypto asset, but I find it interesting that it's the number one centralized exchange in the United States as far as cryptocurrency is concerned, just got approved for futures trading. So now the degens are going to love this. So do you guys have any comments or anything to say about the approval of this, what this means for the space?
Hey, before we talk about the approval, I just want to go back and stress on the previous point that we mentioned. The way to win is by following what others have done. You look at Peter Thiel, you may not agree with his philosophy, but great investor, invested in Facebook earlier on, and he could see the trends before the wider market can see. Why is that? Because he asks a question. Every investment that he makes, he asks the CEOs or the management team the question. The question is this: what do you believe about this particular market, about the market in which your company is in, that others don't agree with, right? What is that? Another way of phrasing asymmetrical knowledge. Asymmetrical knowledge is something, what do you believe about your industry that others don't even believe that? Okay. You look at the example of Y Combinator. Y Combinator, again, another great investor. They are invested in many unicorns, things like Airbnb, Stripe, and multiple unicorns. Instacart, which is in line to go public at a $10 billion valuation. All of them, when you apply to be part of Y Combinator, they all ask the same question, right? What is something that you believe about the industry that others don't? Again, another way of phrasing asymmetrical information. So if there is one takeaway that you want to have from this call or from your life in terms of investing, look for those asymmetrical knowledge, asymmetrical ways in which you can take asymmetrical bet, right? Everyone talks about taking an asymmetrical bet, but how do you do that? The way you take an asymmetrical bet, meaning that you bet $1 to be able to win $100, is the only way you can do that is by asymmetrical knowledge. And that would be like a key takeaway that I want to stress from the previous point that we're talking about, Dominic.
Yeah, I think that's really important that you emphasize that, because please do not gloss over what he just said. This is incredibly valuable, because that principle alone could be the difference between you having success in your portfolio and you not having success in your portfolio, right? If there's any wonder of why maybe you buy high and sell low, it's because you're just generally doing what everybody else is doing. And so it's important to be a contrarian investor. But how do you be a contrarian investor? Is you don't just speculate when something hits an all-time low. You have to know something fundamentally about that product, that it's going to be likely to hit an all-time high again, right? Because it could just hit that all-time low and then go to worthlessness, which has happened with a lot of the dinosaur coins in 2016, 2017. So it's important. What do you know about your investments? What do you know about your industry that nobody else does? Very important key point. So futures, once again,
yeah.
The whole Coinbase thing. So do you guys have any comments on, and this will be the last thing that we touch on before we tie everything up today. But so the whole thing with Coinbase Futures, what do you guys think about?
So I mean, just one comment that people might be confused that the entity that regulates the futures is not the SEC. I don't remember the actual acronym. That it's
CFTC.
Whatever that, right? So I mean, I think it's overall a good news, but it's not it's not indicative of what the SEC is going to do of anything, in my opinion. But we'd love to know what you know, Vijay.
Yeah, so in the US, we have spot trading market, meaning if you have a Bitcoin, you can go to a marketplace like Coinbase and be able to buy that particular asset, which is a good use case if you are taking ownership. However, if you want to hedge your portfolio, if you want to be able to be able to get leverage on it, right now there are not much opportunity for a US investor. And the crypto industry right now has attracted people who have a very high risk tolerance, right? It's a self-selecting market, and only people with high risk level are in crypto right now. People who have low risk appetite are not in crypto market because it doesn't fit their model of the world. And these exchanges are there to make money. If you look at the volume, Binance spot market does about $6 billion of volume. Okay, a day. So $6 billion are traded in the spot market every day. You look at the futures market, 45 billion of volume is traded in a day. Okay, 6 billion in spot, 45 billion in futures. So the futures is, order of magnitude bigger than the spot market. That is for Binance. Of course, Binance is not located in the US. Binance.us, which is available to US investors, does only support spot. It doesn't offer all these futures market. And what ends up happening is that other exchanges outside of the US have been taking the lion's share of the futures market. And we run a fund, and we have to actually establish another entity in Cayman outside of the country to get access to these products, because we want to be able to hedge our current portfolio. And if you're in the US, if you have a US entity, there is no way to be able to do that. And that is pushing investors away. And we know what happens when investors go to other countries which doesn't have such strong regulatory framework and way of enforcing those laws, um, as the case that we saw in FTX, right? FTX was based in Bahamas, and it's outside of the US jurisdiction and outside of the US laws, and it's not very healthy for investors. So what Coinbase is doing is they have allowed for this futures market, which pretty much allows funds and people who have very high risk appetite to be able to participate in the market without having to jump through multiple hoops, setting up entities offshore to get access to this market. So it will bring more price stability. The reason why we have so much of volatility in this market is because of a lack of professional investors who are in this particular market. Having a widely available futures market will bring more price stability and bring down volatility.
It's interesting you say that, because on the surface it doesn't seem like that, but after you've kind of explained that and went into a little bit more nuance as a fund manager, it makes complete sense. So I love the fact that you're sharing that, because this is occurring as all of these ETFs are being filed as well. So it's almost kind of like you can see the roadway, you can see the future to a degree, that it is inevitable that these ETFs do get approved, and these on ramps, these they get repaved, right? And so now all of this opportunity for new money to come into the crypto space is there for a new mania, right? In time when Bitcoin does its halving next year. So I find it very, very interesting how all of these things are kind of lining up. So I guess I would suggest to everybody to make sure that their swords are sharp, right? That they're getting there, that they're ready, that they're thinking about asymmetric information, asymmetric knowledge as it pertains to their portfolios. What do you know that nobody else knows about the particular asset that you own? We've given you a dose of some of the stuff here as it relates to Bitcoin, right? And some of these things as it relates to futures being approved, the Bitcoin ETFs, right? So enabling you to kind of skate to where the puck is going a little bit, but you got to do the hard work, right? The hard work is to actually, look into your own assets that you own and ask yourself the question, what do I understand about this asset that nobody else understands, right? What do I know about this that nobody else owns? And if the answer is nothing, then you might want to reconsider. So that being said, we also have the link drop below for the AI product that we talked about before. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, let us know how we're doing. Let us know if there's anything that we can do to improve, or if there's any other topics that you'd like us to consider. But there is one other topic that we'll talk about as a little bonus before we get going, and that is that Mr. Trump actually is a Bitcoiner or an Ether. Do we call him an Ether holder, right? How much Ether?
A degen. I mean, because he also did the NFTs thing, so he's.
I love it. He's a fellow degen.
Yeah, Donald Trump sold some NFTs for being able to raise money for his campaign finances. And apparently they have raised close to $2.5 million, and he holds Ethereum. And as people see the potential of this, it's going to attract more and more people into the space. I personally don't think it's a very good investment, but I do find it interesting that the President Trump's campaign finances, they hold close to $2.5 million worth of Ethereum.
Yeah, I like the fact that they're holding Ethereum and not US dollars. I like the fact that they are diversifying their currency exposure. I think that just the headline of it is going to get people who are interested in that headline to start thinking about, well, what's Ethereum, right? So I think it's a great thing. and monkey see, monkey do. Maybe other candidates,
all my fellow rednecks out there are going bullish on Ethereum.
They're not the only ones that vote for Trump. No,
I know. Yeah,
but they are. But the point is I think you'll see maybe other candidates start to do the same thing. I mean, look what's going on in your own country, Mariano. Right? You have your own. You have someone who won the primary say openly, I am in support of cryptocurrency.
Openly saying, I'm going to destroy the central bank. Yeah.
So it's like a shift, I think, is occurring. Right, the landscape is shifting right underneath our feet.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure though if those like macroeconomic decisions, such as like being in favor of crypto and the whole like regulating crypto, are presidentialists in the sense, right, that a politician is the one that decides that, or is it the group of experts that is called the SEC or the Federal Reserve, right? I am just unfamiliar with that.
Say that question again. I don't know if I understood it.
So it's, let's say, Trump likes crypto, right? And he wants to regulate it, or he wants to promote the agenda. Does he have the power to do that, or is it more of an independent organism that could be the Federal Reserve or the SEC to deal with that matter? And who appoints them?
That's a very layered. That's a question that requires a very layered answer, I'm afraid. Because he is one man, or the president is one man. You could say they could do it, but could they really do it without support from the administrative state, from their cabinet, from Congress, from
the opposition,
the Federal Reserve, right? So from Wall Street interests, right? So could they technically do it? He could possibly do it, but might earn himself a bullet in his head. So those are things, and I mean those are crazier things have happened. So I don't know the intricacies of what it takes, so I can't say from a vantage point there. But all I know is that there's a lot of competing interests. Otherwise, I mean, if there weren't competing interests, we already have a guidance, a legal framework for crypto in this country.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll give everyone back their week. Enjoy, like, subscribe, comment. Let us know how you're doing.
Share.
See you guys next week.
Take care, everyone.